What if losing your house, your car, and almost everything you own, is actually the best thing that could ever happen to your English? Sounds crazy, right? Stay with me. Because inside this video, I'm going to tell you a true story about a tornado that destroyed my family's home in Kansas, but also gave me back something I didn't know I'd lost. And by the end, you'll never see failure the same way again. The question that changes everything. Imagine you're standing in your kitchen, making coffee, and suddenly someone asks you, what's the one thing you could never lose? Not your phone. Not your money. Not your house. Something deeper. Most people freeze. They can't answer. Because we spend so much time protecting stuff that doesn't actually matter. And here's the weird part, your brain knows this. But your brain is also lazy. It prefers to worry about rent, about bills, about whether someone liked your photo. Small stuff. Safe stuff. But what if losing everything is the only way to find out? I'm going to tell you a true story. My story. About a tornado, a real one, not a metaphor, that ripped through our little town in Kansas 2 years ago. It took our roof, our walls, our memories scattered across a cornfield. And for a few weeks, I thought my life was over. But here's the punchline, that tornado taught me more about English, about love, and about being a parent than any textbook ever could. You're probably watching this because you're tired. Tired of memorizing vocabulary that disappears the next day. Tired of feeling stupid when a native speaker talks too fast. Tired of starting and stopping, starting and stopping. I know that feeling. I lived that feeling for years. So let me ask you the same question that changed everything for me. What if losing shows you what you can't lose? Not what you want to keep. What you literally cannot lose. Even if a tornado takes it away. Take a breath. Let that sink in. Now, here's the science part, but I promise, I'll make it fun. Your brain has something called the negativity bias. It's a fancy term for a stupid habit. Your brain remembers bad things more than good things. Why? Evolution. Your caveman ancestor who remembered where the tiger was, lived. The one who forgot, became lunch. So your brain is wired to focus on loss. On fear. On what's missing. But here's the trick, you can hijack that same system. When you attach English words to a real emotion, not a boring flashcard, but a real memory of almost dying, of holding your kids in the dark, of crying in a FEMA trailer, your brain cannot forget that. It sticks. Like gum on a hot sidewalk. That's what this video is about. Not grammar drills. Not perfect pronunciation. A real story. My story. And I'll speak slowly. Clearly. So you can listen, read along in your mind, and even repeat after me if you want. You don't need to be advanced. You don't need to live in New York or London. You just need to be willing to feel something. Because the people who give up on English, they don't give up because it's hard. They give up because it's boring. Their textbooks are dry. Their apps feel like homework. And their hearts are not in it. But a story? A story about a mother who lost her house but found her voice? That's not boring. That's the opposite of boring. So here's what's going to happen in this video, and I want you to get comfortable. Maybe make some tea. Put on headphones if you can. I've divided this into 12 short sections. Each section is a piece of the puzzle. By the end of 90 minutes, yes, 90 minutes, because slow is fast when you're learning, you will have heard a complete true story. You will have repeated key phrases without even realizing you're practicing. And you will walk away with one simple idea. You cannot lose what truly matters. Now, before I start the story, I need you to do one small thing. Close your eyes for 3 seconds. Just 3. And think of one thing in your life right now that you're afraid of losing. A person. A dream. A version of yourself. Got it? Open your eyes. That thing you just thought of? That's your tornado. That's the thing you think you might lose. And I'm going to show you, step by step, why you're wrong. Because my tornado came on a Tuesday afternoon. The sky turned green, and if you've never seen a green sky, let me tell you, it's not beautiful. It's terrifying. It looks like the world is sick. But I didn't know that yet. At that moment, I was just folding laundry. My 3 kids were watching cartoons. My husband was at work. Normal day. Boring day. The kind of day you don't remember. Until you remember it forever. So let's go back. Back to that morning. Back to the last hour before everything changed. And as we go, I want you to listen for 3 words. Just 3. I'll say them slowly. You don't need to write them down. Just let your ears catch them. Tornado. Family. Lose. Those 3 words are the key to this whole story. And by the time we finish section 12, you'll understand why. Ready? Good. Let's begin. A quiet morning in Kansas. Let me paint you a picture. It's a Tuesday. Not a special Tuesday. Not a birthday or anniversary. Just Tuesday. The sun is coming through the kitchen window, the kind of golden light that makes dust motes look like tiny stars. I'm wearing an old t-shirt with a coffee stain on the sleeve. My hair is in a messy bun. And I'm folding laundry. Yes. Laundry. The most boring, most beautiful, most normal thing in the world. My 3 kids are in the living room. Emma, who's 8, is building something with Legos. She's the quiet one. The one who watches for 5 minutes before she says anything. Then she says something so sharp and so true that you wonder where she got it. Leo is 6. He's not building anything. He's taking apart the thing Emma built. This is his hobby. He calls it investigating. Emma calls it being a little monster. Both are correct. And Mia. Sweet Mia. She's only 4. She's sitting on the carpet, hugging a stuffed bunny that has lost one eye and most of its stuffing. She's singing a song she made up. The lyrics are mostly nonsense. Something about a pickle who went to the moon. I'm folding a blue towel. My husband, Jake, is already at work. He's a maintenance technician for the county. That's a fancy way of saying he fixes things that other people broke. He leaves at 6 in the morning, comes home at 4, and smells like grease and coffee. I love that smell. This is our life. Small house. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, which is a nightmare in the morning, by the way. A porch that creaks when you step on the 3rd board from the left. A garden where I try to grow tomatoes and mostly grow weeds. We live in southern Kansas. Not Wichita. Not the big city. A small town called Mulvane. Population about 6,000. We have 1 grocery store, 2 churches, and a diner where the waitress knows your order before you sit down. It's not glamorous. It's not Instagram. But it's ours. And here's the thing I want you to understand, 2 years after the tornado, yes, the one I mentioned, we are still here. We rebuilt. Not the same house. A different one. Smaller, actually. But the same street. The same neighbors. The same creaky porch. Why am I telling you this? Because when you're learning English, really learning it, not just studying it, you need a place to put the words. Words without a home float away. But words attached to a blue towel, a stuffed bunny with one eye, a Tuesday morning with dust in the sunlight? Those words stay. Let me show you what I mean. Right now, say this sentence out loud. I'll wait. I am folding a blue towel. Feel how your mouth moves? The F sound, then old, then ing. Fold ing. It's soft. Like the fabric. Now say. My children are laughing in the other room. Children. Not kids, though you can say kids too. But children has a rhythm. Children. 2 beats. It sounds like little feet on hardwood floor. This is not grammar class. I'm not going to give you a quiz. But I want you to notice something. When you say these words while imagining my kitchen, your brain makes a little movie. That movie is sticky. It's memorable. And that's the secret. Most English courses teach you words and lists. Apple. Car. House. Family. But those are ghosts. They have no smell, no sound, no emotion. My apple? It sits in a bowl on a counter that has a crack shaped like a duck. My car? A 2015 Honda Odyssey with a stain from a melted popsicle on the back seat. My house? The one with the creaky board. You see the difference? Okay, back to the story. On that Tuesday morning, I wasn't thinking about tornadoes. I wasn't thinking about losing anything. I was thinking about whether I had enough peanut butter for sandwiches. I was thinking about how Leo needed a bath because he'd rolled in something outside, I still don't know what. I was thinking about normal, boring, beautiful things. And then my phone buzzed. It was a weather alert. I glanced at it. Severe thunderstorm warning until 3 p.m. Nothing unusual. Kansas gets storms. We get wind. We get hail that sounds like someone throwing rocks at the roof. You learn to ignore it. So I ignored it. I went back to folding. Emma asked for juice. Leo asked why pickles are green. Mia asked if her bunny could have a snack. Normal. 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 But here's what I've learned, normal is a fragile word. It's a soap bubble. It's beautiful while it lasts, but one wrong breath and it's gone. The sky didn't change right away. It was still blue. Still sunny. The kind of day where you think, maybe I'll take the kids to the park later. Then, around 11 a.m., the wind stopped. Not slowed down. Stopped. Completely. The trees went quiet. The air felt heavy, like a blanket made of concrete. And the birds, you know how birds are always chirping? They stopped too. Dead silence. I remember standing by the window, holding a red sock, thinking, that's strange. And then my phone buzzed again. This time, the alert was different. It said, tornado warning. Take shelter immediately. My heart did something I can't describe. It didn't race. It dropped. Like an elevator with cut cables. Down into my stomach. I turned around. Emma was looking at me. Leo was still destroying Legos. Mia was singing about the pickle. And I had maybe 10 seconds to decide what to do next. That's where I'll stop for now. Because I want you to sit with that feeling. That moment when normal cracks open and something else comes through. You felt it before. Maybe not from a tornado. Maybe from a phone call. A letter. A text message. A doctor's voice. That moment when you realize, oh, everything is about to change. And here's the English practice for this section. I want you to repeat this sentence 3 times. Say it slowly. Say it like you mean it. I did not know that morning would be my last normal morning. One more time, I did not know that morning would be my last normal morning. Good. Because in section 3, the sky turns green. And nothing is normal again. The day the sky turned green. You know how in movies, they always show tornadoes coming with a big black funnel and screaming wind? Hollywood lies. A little bit. The sky didn't turn black first. It turned green. Not a pretty green. Not spring grass green. A sick, yellow-green color, like an old bruise. The kind of green that makes your skin feel wrong. I stood at that window for maybe 5 seconds, staring at the clouds. They were moving sideways. Not up and down like normal clouds. Sideways. Like someone was dragging a giant hand across the sky. And then I heard it. Not a roar. Not yet. It was more like a train. A very, very distant train, coming from the southwest. Low. Rumbling. The kind of sound you feel in your chest before your ears understand it. My brain finally woke up. I dropped the red sock. I didn't even notice where it fell. I turned to my kids and I used a voice I had never used before. Not loud. Not screaming. But sharp. The kind of sharp that cuts through cartoons and Legos and pickle songs. Emma. Leo. Mia. Come here. Now. Emma looked up first. She saw my face. She didn't ask why. She just stood up and walked to me. Leo argued, because Leo argues about everything. But I'm building, no. Come. Mia started crying because she's 4 and she cries when the wind changes. I scooped up Mia with one arm. Grabbed Leo's hand with the other. Emma grabbed my shirt. And we ran. Not to the front door. Not outside. To the bathroom. Why the bathroom? Because in a small Kansas house, you don't have a basement. You don't have a storm shelter unless you built it yourself. We hadn't. So the next best thing is an interior room with no windows. The bathroom. The one with the cracked tile and the shower curtain that always smells a little like mildew. I pushed them inside. Emma sat in the bathtub. I put Mia on her lap. Leo stood in the corner, arms crossed, mad that his investigation was interrupted. I knelt down in front of him. The floor was cold. I remember that. The cold tile on my knees. And I said something I will never forget. I said, "We are going to be very quiet now. And we are going to count. Emma, you count to 100. Leo, you count backwards from 100. Mia, you hold Bunny and don't let go." Then I closed the bathroom door. No lock. Just pulled it shut. And I sat against it. My back against the door. My body between my children and whatever was coming. That's what parents do. We don't think. We just block. Now, here's the English practice part. And I want you to say this one slowly, because it's important. I put my body between my children and the storm. Say it, I put my body between my children and the storm. Feel the B sounds. Body. Between. Your lips touch. That's a bilabial sound, fancy word for two lips. Say it again. Good. Because in that moment, I wasn't thinking about grammar. I wasn't thinking about verb tenses. I was thinking about one word, survive. The sound changed. That distant train? It wasn't distant anymore. It was on top of us. The house started shaking. Not like an earthquake, more like someone picked up the whole building and rattled it like a snow globe. Dishes crashed in the kitchen. Somewhere, a window exploded. Glass everywhere. Mia screamed. Leo stopped counting. Emma kept going. 67, 68, 69, she was crying, but she kept counting. That girl. That brave, quiet girl. And then the pressure changed. Have you ever been in a car with all the windows closed and someone opens the sunroof? That weird pop in your ears? It was like that, but 1,000 times stronger. My ears hurt. My head hurt. The door behind me, the bathroom door, started shaking. Not from me leaning on it. From the air outside. The air was trying to pull the door open. I pushed back with my whole body. Feet on the floor. Hands on the doorframe. I pushed like I was pushing a car up a hill. And then, for about 3 seconds, everything went completely silent. No wind. No train. No dishes crashing. Just silence. That's the worst part. Silence in a tornado means you are in the eye. Or the tornado is right above you. Either way, silence is bad. Emma stopped counting. Leo stopped breathing. Mia's bunny fell out of her hands. I closed my eyes. And I thought, this is it. This is how we die. But we didn't. The silence broke. The wind came back, but different now. Angrier. Louder. A roar so deep I felt it in my bones. The house groaned like an old animal. Something huge hit the roof, a tree branch, maybe a whole tree. The lights flickered and died. We were in darkness. Complete darkness. Except for a crack of light under the door. Green light. That sick, yellow-green light. I heard the roof go first. Not all at once. Piece by piece. Shingles ripped off like paper. Then plywood. Then the attic. I heard rain pouring into the house above us. Then hail. Hail the size of golf balls, then baseballs, pounding whatever was left of the ceiling. Emma was still counting. 84, 85, her voice was shaking. Leo had stopped being mad. He was just a little boy, curled up in the corner, hands over his ears. Mia had stopped crying. She was just staring at the dark. And I was still pushing against the door. The tornado lasted maybe 2 minutes. Maybe 3. It felt like 3 years. Then, the sound started moving away. The roar became a rumble. The rumble became a hum. The hum became nothing. Rain. Just rain. Normal rain. I didn't move. I waited. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. No wind. No train. Just rain and the sound of my own heartbeat. Finally, I stood up. My legs were shaking. My hands were shaking. I opened the bathroom door. And I walked into a world I did not recognize. That's where I'll stop for this section. Because I want you to imagine that moment. Opening a door and seeing your whole life, gone. But not gone. Just, rearranged. By wind. Here's your English practice for today. Repeat this sentence 3 times. I opened the door and my house was gone. One more time, I opened the door and my house was gone. Feel the past tense. Was gone. Not as gone. Was. Because it happened. It's over. And you're still here. In section 4, I'll tell you what I saw. And what I found in the rubble that I thought I'd lost forever. But for now, take a breath. You made it through the tornado with us. Holding my children in the dark. I stepped out of that bathroom and into a different planet. The hallway was gone. Not damaged. Gone. I could see straight up into the sky. Gray clouds. Rain falling on my head. Inside my house. The walls on either side were still standing, barely, but the ceiling had been peeled back like a tin can. Insulation hung down like wet cobwebs. Pink, sticky, disgusting. I walked forward. Bare feet. Broken glass everywhere. I didn't feel it. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug. The living room was worse. The couch was upside down. The TV was gone, just a hole in the wall where it used to be. The Lego tower Emma had built? Scattered across the yard. I could see the yard because the front wall of my house was missing. Just, missing. Like someone had drawn a house and then erased one whole side. Rain was pouring in. Everything was wet. The blue towel I had been folding? I found it later, 3 blocks away, wrapped around a stop sign. But I didn't care about any of that. I turned around and looked back at the bathroom door. My 3 children were still inside. Emma in the tub. Mia on her lap. Leo in the corner. They hadn't moved. They were frozen. Not crying. Just, frozen. I walked back. I knelt down in front of the tub. And I said the only thing I could think of. We're okay. We're all okay. The storm is gone. Emma looked at me. Her lips were trembling. Mommy, she whispered, the house is broken. I nodded. Yes. But you are not broken. None of you are broken. Then I opened my arms. And they fell into me. All 3 of them. Emma on my left, Leo on my right, Mia on my lap. We sat on the wet bathroom floor, the only room in the house that still had a ceiling, and we held each other. In the dark. Because the power was out. In the wet. Because rain was still dripping through holes in the roof above the hallway. And we stayed like that for a long time. Now, here's your English practice. Repeat this sentence slowly. We held each other in the dark and the rain. Say it, we held each other in the dark and the rain. Feel the rhythm. Held each other. 3 words. 2 beats. Held, each, other. Your tongue touches your teeth for held, then opens for each, then closes again for other. That's connected speech. Native speakers run it together, held each other. Try it fast. Now slow. Good. Because here's what I learned in that moment, holding someone is a language. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need vocabulary. You just need to be there. I thought about Jake. My husband. He was still at work. His truck was probably fine, he parked it away from trees. But the roads? The power lines? The tornado had touched down for almost 3 miles. I had no way to call him. No signal. No landline. No electricity. Just wet darkness and 3 small bodies pressed against mine. Mia finally spoke. Her voice was tiny. Mommy, is Bunny gone? Bunny. The one-eyed stuffed rabbit. I hadn't seen it since the bathroom door closed. I don't know, baby. But we'll find her. Or we'll get a new bunny. Mia shook her head. No. I want my bunny. And I understood. It wasn't about the toy. It was about the thing that was hers. The thing she had slept with every night since she was 1 year old. The thing that smelled like her and felt like home. That's when it hit me. Not the tornado, that had already passed. But the loss. Real loss. Not abstract. Not we lost our house as a sentence. But, Mia's bunny is gone. Emma's Lego tower is gone. Leo's collection of cool rocks from the driveway is gone. My blue towel is gone. Jake's favorite coffee mug, the one that said world's okayest technician, is gone. All of it. Gone. And yet. I looked down at Mia's face. At Emma's wet hair. At Leo's hands still clutching my shirt. And I thought, they are not gone. I am not gone. We are still here. That was the first crack of light. Not through the broken ceiling. Through my broken heart. Let me tell you something about the human brain. You've probably heard of the fight or flight response. But there's a third one. Freeze. When the threat is too big, too fast, too overwhelming, your brain just stops. It shuts down everything except the absolute basics. Breathing, heartbeat, holding your children. That's what happened to me. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I just held. For maybe 20 minutes. Maybe an hour. I don't know. Time stopped. Then I heard a voice outside. A man's voice. Hello? Anyone in there? A neighbor. Mr. Hendricks from 2 doors down. His house was still standing, mostly. He had a flashlight. He was walking through the rubble, checking on people. I shouted back. We're here. The bathroom. We're okay. He came to the hole where the front door used to be. Shined his light on us. His face went pale. Oh my God. You're alive. He helped us out. Wrapped a blanket around Emma. Gave Leo his own jacket. Carried Mia because her feet were too small for the broken glass. I followed behind, barefoot, not feeling anything. Outside, the neighborhood looked like a war zone. Houses flattened. Cars upside down. Trees snapped in half like toothpicks. And everywhere, pieces of people's lives. A photo album. A child's shoe. A kitchen sink. A ceiling fan. All scattered across the street, the yards, the fields. I stood there in the rain. My neighbors were crying. Sirens in the distance. And I realized, I had no idea where Jake was. No idea if he was alive. No idea if his workplace had been hit. That fear, that specific, sharp, terrible fear, is worse than the tornado. Because the tornado lasts 3 minutes. that fear can last forever. But then I heard a truck. Not a siren. An engine. A loud, rough, familiar engine. The 2015 Honda Odyssey. Our minivan. It pulled up onto the grass, through the mud, and stopped. The door opened. And Jake got out. His face. I'll never forget his face. He looked at the pile of wood that used to be our home. Then he looked at me, holding Mia, standing in the rain. And he ran. He ran through the mud and the glass and the debris. He didn't say a word. He just grabbed all four of us, me and the kids, and held us. In the rain. In the wreckage. And I thought, this is what I can't lose. Not the house. Not the blue towel. Not even Bunny. This. Your English practice for today. One sentence. Say it with me. I found what I can't lose in the middle of losing everything. One more time, I found what I can't lose in the middle of losing everything. Because in section 5, I'll show you exactly what we lost. And what we found in the rubble that no tornado could ever take. But for now, just breathe. You're still here. We're still here. What we lost. The sun came back the next morning. That felt almost cruel. Like the sky was saying, sorry about yesterday. Anyway, here's a beautiful day. I stood outside what used to be our front door. There was no door anymore. Just a rectangle of empty space where a door used to hang. The morning light poured through the missing walls, illuminating everything we had lost. And I mean everything. Let me walk you through it. Not to make you sad. But because sometimes you need to see the mess before you can understand the miracle. The living room was a pile of wet drywall, broken 2x4s, and insulation. Pink fiberglass everywhere. It looked like a giant cotton candy machine had exploded. Our couch was upside down, its cushions scattered across the yard. The TV? We found it later in a tree. Not our tree. A tree 3 houses down. The kitchen was worse. Cabinets ripped off the walls. Dishes shattered into a million pieces. The refrigerator was on its side, the door hanging open. Food everywhere. Milk and ketchup and pickles, Leo's beloved pickles, all mixed together in a disgusting soup on the floor. Our bedroom? No roof. No ceiling. Just blue sky and clouds. Our mattress was soaked, covered in glass and dirt and leaves. The dresser was gone, just gone, and our clothes were scattered across the neighborhood. I found one of Jake's work shirts a week later, hanging from a fence half a mile away. The kids' room broke my heart the most. Emma's bed was still there, but upside down. Her favorite blanket, the purple one with the stars, was wrapped around a bush outside. Her bookshelf had exploded. Dozens of picture books, torn and wet, lying in the mud. Goodnight Moon. The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Where the Wild Things Are. All ruined. Leo's room was unrecognizable. His bed was in the hallway. His dresser was in the backyard. His collection of cool rocks, the ones he had been gathering for 2 years, the ones he could name one by one, was just gone. Scattered. Mixed into the debris. And Mia's room. Sweet Mia. Her crib was still standing. Somehow. But everything else was destroyed. Her little pink lamp. Her mobile with the elephants. And Bunny. Bunny was nowhere to be found. I spent an hour that morning digging through the rubble, looking for that stupid one-eyed rabbit. Jake tried to stop me. Honey, it's just a toy. I didn't listen. I kept digging. My hands got cut. My knees got wet. I found a shoe. I found a spoon. I found a photo of my grandmother that I didn't even know we had. But I didn't find Bunny. I sat down in the mud and cried. Not for the house. Not for the TV or the couch or the dishes. For Bunny. For the look on Mia's face when she realized her best friend was gone. That's the thing about loss. It's not the big things that hurt the most. It's the small ones. The ones that hold memories. The ones that can't be replaced. Now, here's your English practice. Repeat this sentence. I cried not for the house, but for a stuffed rabbit. Say it, I cried not for the house, but for a stuffed rabbit. Feel the contrast. Not for, but for. That's a useful structure. You can use it anywhere. I didn't come for the money, but for the experience. I didn't stay for the weather, but for the people. Good. Jake sat down next to me in the mud. He didn't say it's okay because it wasn't okay. He just put his arm around me. We sat there for a long time, looking at the pile of wood and glass and memories. Then we started making a list. Not a grocery list. A what we lost list. Because FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, would need it for assistance. So we sat in the mud with a wet piece of paper and a pen that barely worked, and we wrote down everything we could remember. Living room furniture. Bedroom furniture. Kids' clothes. Our clothes. Dishes. Pots and pans. Towels. Sheets. Blankets. Toys. Books. Electronics. Tools. Jake's work equipment. My laptop. My phone. My grandmother's china, the set she brought from Italy in 1952. All gone. The list went on for 2 pages. Then we added the things you can't put on a FEMA form. Our sense of safety. Our routine. Emma's confidence, she didn't sleep through the night for months after. Leo's collection, he still asks about those rocks sometimes. Mia's bunny. My peace of mind. Loss has a weight. A physical weight. I didn't know that before. I thought loss was an emotion, something invisible. But after the tornado, I felt heavier. Every step required effort. Every breath required work. Even smiling, especially smiling, felt like lifting a barbell. Here's the science part, and I promise, I'll keep it light. When you experience a significant loss, your brain releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. That's normal. But if the loss is big enough, those hormones stay elevated for weeks. Your body stays in emergency mode. That's why you feel tired. That's why you feel heavy. It's not weakness. It's biology. The good news? Your brain also has something called neuroplasticity. Fancy word for your brain can heal. The same brain that learned to fear the storm can learn to feel safe again. But it takes time. And it takes small, repeated actions. Like saying one sentence every day. Like holding your children. Like sitting in the mud with your husband and making a list. So that's what we did. We made the list. We gave it to the FEMA worker who showed up that afternoon. And then we walked through the rubble one more time, looking for anything salvageable. We found a few things. A metal pot that was dented but usable. A pair of Leo's shoes that had landed in a bush. Jake's wedding ring, somehow, sitting on top of a pile of broken wood, like it was waiting for us. And we found one photo. Just one. A family picture taken at my sister's wedding 3 years ago. All 5 of us, smiling, wearing fancy clothes. The frame was broken. The glass was shattered. But the photo itself was dry. Almost untouched. I put it in my pocket. And I thought, this is what we lost. But this is also what we still have. That night, we slept at Mr. Hendrick's house. He had a spare room. 5 of us on 2 twin beds and a sleeping bag on the floor. We didn't sleep much. Every time the wind picked up, Emma would gasp. Leo would grab my arm. Mia would cry. But we were together. And that, being together, was the first thing I put on a new list. A what we still have list. In section 6, I'll tell you about the strangest gift the tornado left behind. The thing that showed up in the middle of all that rubble. The thing I almost missed. But for now, repeat this sentence one more time. We lost almost everything. But we did not lose each other. Say it slowly, we lost almost everything. But we did not lose each other. Feel the but. The turn. The hope hidden inside the loss. Because hope is there. Even in the mud. Even in the broken glass. Even when Bunny is gone. I promise. The strangest gift. 3 days after the tornado, I went back to the rubble alone. Jake was at the FEMA office, filling out more paperwork. The kids were with a neighbor. And I don't know how to explain it, I needed to say goodbye. To the house. To the walls that had held our laughter and our fights and our midnight feedings. To the kitchen where I burned toast so often that the smoke alarm learned my name. So I walked through the mess. Slowly. Barefoot again, but this time on purpose. I wanted to feel the broken glass. Not to hurt myself. To remind myself that it was real. That I wasn't dreaming. I stepped over a broken chair. I ducked under a fallen beam. I kicked aside a piece of drywall that had a handprint on it, Leo's handprint, from when he was 3, and painted his palm just to slap the wall. I smiled. Then I almost cried. Then I kept walking. And then I saw it. A corner of the bedroom. The back corner, where our dresser used to be. The dresser was gone, splintered into 1,000 pieces. But something was sitting on the floor. Something that shouldn't have been there. A book. Not a regular book. A journal. Our family journal. The one I started writing when Emma was born. The one where I wrote down every silly thing the kids said, every milestone, every fight, every forgiveness. The one with the blue cover and the gold letters that said our story. It was just sitting there. On top of a pile of broken wood. Completely dry. Completely intact. Not a single page torn. I knelt down. My hands were shaking. I picked it up. And next to it, underneath a piece of plywood, was something else. A photo. Our wedding photo. The one from 8 years ago, when Jake and I were young and thin and had no idea what we were doing. The frame was crushed. The glass was shattered. But the photo itself? Perfect. Not a scratch. I sat down in the rubble. Right there. On the floor of what used to be my bedroom. And I opened the journal. Here's what I read. And I want you to imagine reading it with me. Emma took her first steps today. September 12th. Right there in the living room, from the couch to my arms. She fell twice. Then she just walked. Like she'd been practicing in secret. Jake cried. I pretended not to cry. We both cried. Leo said his first real sentence today. More apple. 2 words. But they were perfect. He looked so proud of himself. I wrote it down immediately so I wouldn't forget. Mia laughed for the first time today. A real laugh. Not the baby gas thing. A belly laugh. Jake was making silly faces. She looked at him like he was the funniest person in the world. He probably is. Page after page. Year after year. All of it. Still there. I held that journal to my chest. And I felt something I hadn't felt since the sky turned green. Gratitude. Pure, stupid, overwhelming gratitude. Because the tornado could have taken that journal. It should have. The wind ripped the roof off. It threw our dresser across the yard. It scattered our clothes for half a mile. But that little blue book? It stayed. It survived. Why? I don't know. Luck. Chance. Maybe something else. But here's what I do know, that journal is the strangest gift I've ever received. Not because it's valuable. Because it reminded me of something I had forgotten. The story is not the house. The story is us. Now, here's your English practice. Repeat this sentence slowly. The tornado took the walls, but it could not take the story. Say it, the tornado took the walls, but it could not take the story. Feel the contrast. Took, but could not take. That's the heart of this whole video. Loss and survival. Destruction and preservation. The same wind that destroyed our home left our memories untouched. I sat there for maybe an hour. Reading. Crying. Laughing. I read about Emma's first day of kindergarten. About Leo's obsession with pickles, yes, it started when he was 2. About Mia's first word, which was bunny, obviously. About the time Jake tried to fix the sink and flooded the bathroom. About our 10th anniversary dinner at the diner because we couldn't afford anything fancier. All of it. Still alive. Still mine. That's when I understood something important. Something I want you to hear, really hear. The things you can lose are not the things that matter. The house? You can lose it. The car? You can lose it. The TV, the couch, the dishes, the clothes, the books, the toys, all of it can be taken. In 3 minutes. By wind and rain and bad luck. But the journal? The photo? The memories? Those are harder to lose. Because they live in you. Not in the walls. Not in the objects. In you. And here's the science part, because I know you like the science. Your brain has something called episodic memory. That's the part that stores personal experiences. Not facts. Not vocabulary lists. Not grammar rules. But what happened to you? The time you fell off your bike. The time your child said more apple. The time you sat in the rubble and found a blue journal. Episodic memory is incredibly powerful. It's stickier than any other kind of memory. Why? Because it's attached to emotion. And emotion is the glue of learning. That's why you can remember the words to a song from 10 years ago, but you can't remember what you ate for lunch yesterday. The song made you feel something. The sandwich didn't. So here's the trick. The secret I learned from that journal. If you want to learn English, really learn it, not just study it, attach it to your story. Your real story. Your losses. Your survival. Your blue journal moments. Not the cat is on the table. But, the tornado took my roof, but it did not take my children. Not I go to the store. But, I sat in the rubble and held my family's story in my hands. Those sentences? You will not forget them. Because they are true. Because they are yours. Or they could be. If you let them. I closed the journal. I put the wedding photo inside the pages. And I stood up. The sun was setting. The rubble looked different now. Still broken. Still sad. But also, hopeful. Because I had found the thing I thought I'd lost. Not Bunny. We still hadn't found Bunny. But something else. Something bigger. I had found proof that the story continues. That loss is not the end. That even when everything falls apart, the pieces that matter, the love, the laughter, the words you wrote down so you wouldn't forget, those pieces stay. I walked back to Mr. Hendrick's house. Jake was already there. The kids were eating pizza on the floor. Normal. Messy. Alive. I put the journal on the table. Jake looked at it. His eyes went wide. Where did you find that? In the rubble, I said. It was waiting for me. He opened it. He read a page. He didn't cry this time. But he came close. And I thought, this is what I can't lose. Not the house. Not the things. The journal. The photo. The people sitting on this floor eating pizza. This. In section 7, I'll tell you about the slow rebuild. How we lived in a FEMA trailer for 6 months. How the kids learned to sleep through the wind again. And how I started writing a new story, in English, this time, for all of us. But for now, repeat this sentence with me. I found my story in the rubble, and it was not broken. One more time, I found my story in the rubble, and it was not broken. Good. Because neither are you. Living in a FEMA trailer. 3 weeks after the tornado, we moved into our new home. It was 30 feet long, 8 feet wide, and smelled like plastic and cheap carpet glue. A FEMA trailer. The government sends them to disaster zones so people have somewhere to sleep while they figure out their lives. Ours was parked in what used to be our backyard. Now the backyard was just mud. But the trailer had a roof. And walls. And a door that closed. After sleeping on Mr. Hendrick's floor for 3 weeks, that trailer felt like a palace. Let me describe it for you. You walk in, and you're in the living room. That's a couch that turns into a bed, a tiny table, and a TV the size of a laptop screen. Then there's the kitchen, a 2-burner stove, a microwave, and a sink you can barely fit a plate in. Then a hallway so narrow you have to turn sideways to walk through. Then a bathroom with a shower you can't bend over in. Then a bedroom with 2 bunk beds and a mattress on the floor for me and Jake. 5 people. 1 trailer. 0 privacy. The first night, Emma looked around and said, "Mommy, this is smaller than our bathroom was." She wasn't wrong. Leo cried because he wanted his room back. Mia cried because she still didn't have Bunny. Jake and I didn't cry. We were too tired. We just looked at each other across the narrow hallway and shrugged. What else could we do? But here's the thing about living in a FEMA trailer. It teaches you what you actually need. Not what you want. What you need. You need a place to sleep. You need food. You need your family. Everything else? Optional. I started keeping a new journal. Not the blue one, that one was too precious to write in every day. A cheap notebook from the dollar store. Every night, after the kids fell asleep, I would sit on the edge of the mattress and write one sentence. Just one. In English. Because here's the secret I discovered in that tiny trailer: small is sustainable. Most people fail at learning English because they try to do too much. 30 minutes a day. 50 new words a week. Grammar exercises. Pronunciation drills. It's too much. Your brain gets tired. You quit. But one sentence? Anyone can write one sentence. Here's what I wrote on our first night in the trailer. Tonight we sleep in a small box, but we are together. That's it. 7 words. I didn't worry about grammar. I didn't check spelling. I just wrote what was true. The next night, Mia asked for Bunny again. I said maybe Bunny is on an adventure. 9 words. The next night, Leo found a cool rock in the mud. He put it on the tiny table. It is his new collection. 12 words. Slowly, sentence by sentence, I was building something. Not a perfect English essay. A record of survival. And because those sentences were true, because they came from my real life, my real pain, my real tiny victories, I never forgot them. They stuck. That's the science. Your brain has a filter called the reticular activating system. Fancy name. Simple job. It decides what's important enough to remember and what's not. How does it decide? Emotion. If something makes you feel sad, happy, scared, grateful, your brain says, keep this. If something is boring, your brain says, delete. A textbook sentence: the cat sits on the mat. Boring. Delete. My sentence: tonight we sleep in a small box, but we are together. Emotional. Keep. That's why this method works. That's why I'm telling you my story. Not because I'm special. Because my story is real. And your story is real too. You just haven't written it down yet. Now, here's your English practice. Repeat this sentence. I can learn English one sentence at a time. Say it, I can learn English one sentence at a time. Feel the rhythm. One sentence at a time. That's your new mantra. Not fluent in 3 months. Not perfect grammar. One sentence at a time. Back to the trailer. We lived there for 6 months. 6 months of muddy shoes by the door. 6 months of fighting over the bathroom. 6 months of eating meals on a table that wobbled because one leg was shorter than the others. 6 months of hearing every sound, every cough, every whisper, every nightmare, because the walls were made of paper and hope. But here's what else happened in those 6 months. The neighbors brought us food. Not fancy food. Casseroles. Sandwiches. A bag of apples. A box of cereal. People we barely knew showed up with blankets and toothbrushes and toys for the kids. One woman, I never learned her name, left a stuffed rabbit on our doorstep. Not Bunny. A new one. White with floppy ears. Mia named her Snowy and slept with her every night. The community center started a free English class for disaster survivors. Not for me, for the Spanish-speaking families in town. But I went anyway. I sat in the back. I listened. I learned that helping others is also helping yourself. And Jake? Jake worked. Every day. He went back to his job as soon as the county opened again. He fixed roads and power lines and water mains. He came home exhausted, smelling like sweat and diesel. But he always kissed the kids goodnight. Always. One night, I asked him, "Aren't you tired of this?" He looked at me. Of course I'm tired. But we're still here. That's the only thing that matters. That's when I realized Jake had known the answer to the tornado question all along. What can't you lose? Each other. He never doubted it. Not for a second. I wish I could tell you that living in a FEMA trailer was a beautiful, transformative experience. Some of it was. Most of it wasn't. It was cramped and loud and stressful. The kids fought more than usual. I cried in the shower more than once. Jake got grumpy. We all got grumpy. But we got through it. Day by day. Sentence by sentence. And slowly, so slowly I barely noticed, the rubble started to look less like an ending and more like a beginning. In Section 8, I'll tell you about my husband's silent strength. The things he never said. The way he held us together without ever raising his voice. And the lesson I learned about love, real love, in the middle of the mess. But for now, your English practice. One more sentence. Say it out loud. I am still here. That is the only thing that matters. Say it again, I am still here. That is the only thing that matters. Because you are. And that's enough. My husband's silent strength. Let me tell you about Jake. Jake is not a talker. When we first met, I thought he was mad at me. He would just nod. Smile. Say yep or nope. That's it. I'd tell him a long story about my day, and he'd listen, really listen, and then say, "That's rough." 3 words. That was his novel. I used to wish he would say more. Use bigger words. Express his feelings like the men in movies. You know the type. The ones who give speeches about love under the rain. But after the tornado, I learned something. Jake's silence was not emptiness. It was a container. A strong, quiet container that held all of us when we were falling apart. In the FEMA trailer, I was the one who cried. I was the one who wrote in my journal. I was the one who called my mom and sobbed into the phone. Jake? Jake just worked. He woke up at 5 a.m., made coffee on that tiny 2-burner stove, and left for his job. He fixed things. Roads. Power lines. Broken water mains. Other people's houses. He came home at 6 p.m. Dirty. Tired. Quiet. He would eat whatever I managed to cook, usually something with rice and beans because that's all we could afford, and then he would sit on the edge of the mattress and read to the kids. Not from a book. We didn't have books anymore. From memory. He told them stories about his own childhood. About growing up on a farm in Oklahoma. About the time he fell into a pig pen. About his dog, Duke, who lived to be 17. The kids loved it. They would curl up next to him, and his deep, slow voice would fill the tiny trailer. No pictures. No screens. Just words. And here's the thing I didn't understand until later. Jake was teaching them, teaching all of us, That you don't need things to tell a story. You just need your voice. And your memory. And the people who are willing to listen. One night, after the kids were asleep, I asked him. Aren't you angry? About the house? About everything? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, angry at what? The wind? I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because he was right. What's the point of being angry at the wind? The wind doesn't care. I'm not angry, he said. I'm tired. But I'm not angry. How? I asked. How are you not angry? He looked at me. His eyes were soft. Because I still have you. And the kids. That's the whole list. Everything else is extra. That was the longest speech Jake ever gave me. And I have never forgotten it. Now, here's your English practice. Repeat this sentence. I still have you. That is the whole list. Say it, I still have you. That is the whole list. Feel the simplicity. The whole list. Not a long list. Not a complicated list. One item. That's love. That's marriage. That's survival. I want to tell you about something that happened in month 4 of the FEMA trailer. Leo woke up in the middle of the night screaming. Nightmare. He dreamed the tornado was coming back. He was shaking. Sweating. Crying so hard he couldn't breathe. I jumped up. But Jake was faster. He climbed into Leo's bunk, which was way too small for a grown man, and wrapped his arms around our son. He didn't say it's okay or don't be scared. He said something else. He said, Leo, listen. Feel my heart. Leo pressed his ear to Jake's chest. Is it beating? Jake asked. Leo nodded. The tornado stopped beating a long time ago. But my heart is still going. Your heart is still going. That means we win. Leo stopped crying. He fell back asleep, curled up against his dad. And Jake stayed there the whole night. In a bunk bed meant for a 6-year-old. His legs hanging off the edge. His back hurting in the morning. He never complained. That's the kind of man Jake is. Not the kind who gives flowers or writes poems. The kind who climbs into a too small bunk bed at 2 a.m. because his son needs to feel a heartbeat. Here's the science part, and I promise, it connects. Psychologists have studied what makes marriages survive trauma. The answer is not good communication or shared interests. Those help. But the real predictor is something called emotional attunement. Fancy term for showing up. For noticing when your partner is hurting. For climbing into the bunk bed without being asked. Jake didn't read books about emotional attunement. He just did it. Because his dad did it for him. Because love is not a theory. It's a series of small, quiet actions. Day after day. Night after night. I started writing about Jake in my cheap notebook. Not long entries. Just sentences. Jake came home with a bag of apples today. Someone gave them to him at work. He gave the biggest one to Mia. Jake fixed the toilet in the trailer. It took him 3 hours. He didn't complain once. Jake told Leo a story about a pig. Leo laughed for the first time in weeks. Those sentences are my English practice. And they are also my love letter. To a man who will probably never watch this video because he doesn't like watching himself. But that's okay. He doesn't need to. Because here's what I learned from Jake: strength is not loud. Strength is showing up when everything is broken and you have nothing left to give, and then giving a little more. In section 9, I'll tell you about the children. How they healed. How they grew. And how I started writing a new story, in English, for all of us. A story about a family that lost everything and found something better. But for now, your English practice. One more sentence. Say it with me. Love is not a speech. Love is a bunk bed at 2 a.m. Say it again, love is not a speech. Love is a bunk bed at 2 a.m. Because that's the truth. And the truth is the best language teacher there is. Children and a new normal. Kids are resilient. That's what people say. And it's true. But resilient doesn't mean unbreakable. It means they bend instead of snap. And then, slowly, they bend back. After 6 months in the FEMA trailer, we finally moved into a new house. Not the old one, that lot was still empty, a patch of dirt with a for sale sign. A different house. Smaller than the first. 2 bedrooms instead of 3. A kitchen with yellow cabinets that reminded me of mustard. A backyard with one sad tree and a lot of weeds. But it had a roof. And walls that weren't made of plastic. And a front door that locked. The kids reacted differently. Emma, our 8-year-old, walked into her new room and said nothing. She just stood in the middle of the floor, turned in a slow circle, and then sat down on the bare mattress. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just sat. For 20 minutes. Later that night, I found her unpacking her few toys. She arranged them on the shelf in a specific order. Stuffed dog. Plastic horse. The one Barbie that survived. She stared at them for a long time. Then she said, "Mommy, is this house going to blow away too?" I knelt down. I looked her in the eyes. No, baby. This house is safe. And even if something bad happened again, which it won't, we would still be together. Remember? We survived once. We can survive again. She nodded. Then she went back to arranging her toys. Emma didn't sleep through the night for another year. Every time the wind picked up, she would appear in our doorway, silent as a ghost, holding that stuffed dog. We never told her to go back to bed. We just made room. Every single time. Leo was different. Leo got angry. Not at us. At the world. He would kick the new walls. He would throw his shoes. He would shout, "I want my old rocks. I want my old room. I want my old house." One afternoon, he got so mad that he punched the mustard yellow kitchen cabinet. He hurt his hand. He cried. I held him while he sobbed. And when he finally calmed down, I said, "Leo, do you know what I miss the most?" "What?" "The sound of your laugh. You used to laugh every day. Now you don't. And I miss it more than any rock or any room." He looked at me. His lower lip trembled. And then, slowly, like the sun coming out after a storm, he laughed. Just a small one. But it was there. "I miss my laugh too," he said. After that, we made a game. Every day, we tried to find one thing that made Leo laugh. A silly face. A funny story. A video of a cat falling off a chair. It wasn't always easy. Some days, nothing worked. But most days, we found something. And slowly, his laugh came back. Now, here's your English practice. Repeat this sentence. I miss your laugh more than anything I lost. Say it, I miss your laugh more than anything I lost. Feel the comparison. More than. That's a useful phrase. You can use it for anything. I love this more than that. I need sleep more than coffee. Though coffee is also important. Mia was the youngest. 4 years old when the tornado hit. She didn't understand what happened. She just knew that Bunny was gone and that we lived in a small, strange place. She asked about Bunny every day for months. Is Bunny coming back? Bunny is on a long trip. Does Bunny miss me? Bunny misses you very much. Then, one day, we found Bunny. I was walking through the field behind our old lot. The field where the tornado had scattered everything. It was almost a year later. I wasn't looking for anything. I was just walking. And there, half buried in mud and dead grass, was a small, gray, one-eared stuffed rabbit. Bunny. She was disgusting. Moldy. Torn. Missing an eye, that was old, and now missing an ear. But she was Bunny. I picked her up. I held her like a baby. And I cried. Right there in the field. Like a crazy person. I brought Bunny home. I washed her 3 times. I sewed the ear back on, badly, because I'm not a sewer. And I put her on Mia's pillow. When Mia came home from preschool, she saw Bunny. Her face. I wish I could describe it. It was like watching someone win the lottery and find their lost dog at the same time. She screamed. She grabbed Bunny. She hugged her so tight I thought the stitches would pop. Bunny! You came back. That night, Mia slept with Bunny pressed against her cheek. And for the first time in almost a year, she didn't wake up crying. That's when I understood something important about children and loss. Kids don't need you to fix everything. They need you to be there. To hold them. To search the field for a stupid stuffed rabbit even when you know it's probably gone forever. Because the searching itself is love. And love is what heals. Here's the science. Child psychologists call it secure attachment. It's a fancy way of saying, when kids know that someone is reliably there, even when things are scary. Even when things are broken, they learn that the world is safe enough to explore. They learn that loss is not the end. They learn to bend back. You don't need a degree to do this. You just need to show up. Again and again. Even when you're tired. Even when you're sad. Even when you've lost your own house and your own sense of normal. So that's what we did. We showed up. Emma eventually started sleeping through the night. Not every night. But most nights. Leo's laugh came back fully, loud and ridiculous and wonderful. Mia and Bunny were reunited, and the world made sense again. And me? I kept writing in my cheap notebook. 1 sentence a day. Sometimes 2. Today Emma said she feels safe. Today Leo laughed at a cat video for 5 minutes straight. Today Mia introduced Bunny to Snowy. They are now best friends. Those sentences are my English practice. And they are also my proof. Proof that normal comes back. Not the old normal. A new normal. Different. Smaller. But still good. In section 10, I'll tell you about the science of slow learning. Why 1 sentence a day works better than 1 hour a week. And how you can use your own story, your own losses, your own small victories, to learn English without ever opening a textbook. But for now, your English practice. One more sentence. Say it with me. Normal comes back. Not the old normal. A new normal. And that is enough. Say it again, normal comes back. Not the old normal. A new normal. And that is enough. Because it is. I promise. The science of slow learning. You've made it through 9 sections of my story. The tornado. The rubble. The FEMA trailer. The bunk bed at 2 a.m. The stuffed rabbit that came back from the dead. Now I want to tell you why this method works. The real reason. The science behind slow, story-based learning. And I promise, no boring lectures. No complicated jargon. Just the good stuff. The kind of explanation that makes you say, oh, that's why my brain works that way. Let's start with a question. Have you ever studied a list of vocabulary words for an hour, felt pretty good about yourself, and then couldn't remember a single one the next day? Of course you have. Everyone has. That's not your fault. That's your brain being smart. Here's what's happening inside your head. Your brain has a gatekeeper. Scientists call it the reticular activating system, RAS for short. Think of the RAS as a bouncer at a very exclusive club. Information shows up at the door, and the RAS decides, you're important. Come in. Or, you're boring. Get out. How does the RAS decide? One thing, emotion. If information comes with a feeling, fear, joy, sadness, surprise, the RAS opens the door wide. If information is neutral, dry, or repetitive, the RAS slams the door. Your brain literally blocks boring information. It doesn't want to waste energy on stuff that doesn't matter. That's why you remember the lyrics to a song that made you cry 10 years ago, but you can't remember what you studied last Tuesday. The song had emotion. The textbook didn't. Now, here's the magic of storytelling. When I tell you about the sky turning green, that sick, yellow-green color, your brain releases a tiny amount of adrenaline. Not a lot. Just enough to say, pay attention. This is important. When I tell you about holding my children in the dark bathroom, your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding chemical. When I tell you about finding Bunny in the field, your brain releases dopamine, the reward chemical. 3 different emotions. 3 different chemicals. All from one true story. And every single English word I used, tornado, rubble, trailer, bunk bed, bunny, field, gets glued to those chemicals. That's why you'll remember those words. Not because you memorized them. Because you felt them. Let me prove it to you. Right now, without looking back, can you remember the sentence I asked you to repeat in section 4? It was, I found what I can't lose in the middle of losing everything. If you've been following along, that sentence is probably still in your head. Not because you drilled it. Because it was attached to a moment. The moment I sat in the rubble with the blue journal. That's the science of slow learning. Now, here's your English practice. Repeat this sentence. My brain remembers what it feels. Not what it studies. Say it, my brain remembers what it feels. Not what it studies. Feel the contrast. Feels, studies. One is alive. The other is dead. That's the difference. So why slow? Why not just tell a fast, exciting story and be done with it? Because your brain also has a limit. It's called cognitive load. Fancy term for your brain can only handle so much at once. If I talk too fast, if I pack too many new words into one sentence, your RAS gets overwhelmed. It starts blocking everything. Even the good stuff. Slow speech gives your brain time to process. Time to attach each word to the emotion. Time to build little neural pathways, one sentence at a time. Think of it like building a house. You don't throw all the lumber into a pile and call it done. You place one board. Then another. Then another. Slow. Steady. That's how you build something that lasts. The same is true for language. I learned this in the FEMA trailer. I couldn't study for an hour a day. I didn't have an hour. I had 5 minutes while the kids were eating breakfast. I had one sentence while Jake was in the shower. I had a few words scribbled on a napkin. But those 5 minutes, done every day, added up. After 6 months, I had written over 180 sentences. After a year, over 365. That's not a lot. But it's more than zero. And zero is what most people do because they're waiting for the perfect time to start. There's a name for this. It's called atomic habits. Small actions, repeated consistently, produce massive results over time. Not because they're powerful on their own. Because they're sustainable. You can write one sentence on your worst day. You cannot study for an hour on your worst day. That's why slow learning wins. Not because it's easier. Because it's possible. Here's another piece of science. Your brain has something called spaced repetition. That means you remember something better if you revisit it over time, with gaps in between, rather than cramming it all at once. This video is 90 minutes long. That's a lot of information. But you're not watching it all in one sitting, are you? You're taking breaks. You're coming back. That's spaced repetition. Your brain is thanking you right now. So here's my challenge to you. Don't try to learn English fast. Try to learn English slowly. One sentence a day. One story at a time. Attach each word to something real, your own life, your own losses, your own small victories. You don't need a tornado. You just need a notebook. And 5 minutes. In section 11, I'll show you exactly how to do this. A simple, practical method. No apps. No subscriptions. Just you, a pen, and your own story. But for now, your English practice. One more sentence. Say it with me. I will learn English one sentence at a time, and that is enough. Say it again, I will learn English one sentence at a time, and that is enough. Because it is. Slow is not weak. Slow is sustainable. And sustainable wins the race. Your tornado might be different. Okay. Let's pause the story for a moment. Let's talk about you. Because I know why you're still watching. It's not because you're curious about my family's FEMA trailer or my husband's bunk bed heroics. Well, maybe a little. But the real reason is deeper. You're here because you have your own tornado. Maybe it's not a literal storm with green sky and flying debris. Maybe your tornado is a divorce that came out of nowhere. Maybe it's a job loss that emptied your bank account. Maybe it's a health diagnosis that changed every plan you ever made. Maybe it's loneliness, that quiet, grinding tornado that tears down your self-esteem one day at a time. Or maybe your tornado is smaller but still painful. A friendship that ended. A dream you had to bury. A version of yourself that you lost somewhere along the way. Here's the truth, everyone has a tornado. Everyone has a moment when the sky turned green and the wind started roaring. Everyone has something they lost that they thought they couldn't live without. And here's the other truth, that tornado is your best English teacher. I'm serious. Put down the flashcards. Close the language app. Your tornado, your real, painful, personal tornado, is the most powerful learning tool you own. Why? Because of everything I just explained in section 10. Emotion. The RAS. The bouncer at the door of your brain. Your tornado is drenched in emotion. Fear. Grief. Anger. Regret. And also hope. Survival. Gratitude. Love. All of those feelings are rocket fuel for memory. When you attach an English word to a feeling from your own life, that word becomes permanent. You don't have to review it. You don't have to put it on a flashcard. It just sticks. Like a burr to a wool sweater. Let me give you an example. Think of a word you've always struggled to remember. Maybe it's overwhelmed. Long word. Tricky spelling. You've looked it up 10 times and forgotten it 11. Now, close your eyes. Think of a moment when you felt completely overwhelmed. The day your partner said it was over. The night you couldn't pay your rent. The hour you sat in a doctor's waiting room, staring at a door, praying for good news. Feel that feeling. The weight on your chest. The noise in your head. The way your hands might have shaken. Now open your eyes. Say this sentence. I felt completely overwhelmed. Say it again, I felt completely overwhelmed. Do you think you'll forget that word now? Probably not. Because you just attached it to your tornado. Not mine. Yours. That's the method. That's the secret. And you don't need a green sky or a destroyed house to use it. You just need honesty. And 5 minutes. And a willingness to feel something. Now, here's your English practice. Repeat this sentence. My tornado is my best teacher. Say it, my tornado is my best teacher. Because it is. The things that broke you are also the things that can build your English. Not in spite of the pain. Because of it. So let me give you a simple, practical exercise. Do this today. Do it now if you can. Step 1, get a notebook. A cheap one. The kind from the dollar store. Or just open a note on your phone. The tool doesn't matter. The words do. Step 2, write this question at the top of the page, what is my tornado? Step 3, answer it. In your own language first if that's easier. Just get the story out. Don't worry about English yet. Step 4, pick one sentence from that story. Just one. The most emotional sentence. The one that makes your chest tight when you read it. Step 5, translate that sentence into English. Use Google Translate if you need to. Or ask a friend. Or just try your best. It doesn't have to be perfect. Step 6, write that English sentence in your notebook. Then read it out loud. 5 times. Slowly. That's it. That's the whole exercise. 5 minutes. 1 sentence. Do this every day for a week. At the end of the week, you'll have 7 sentences. 7 pieces of your story. 7 English phrases that you will never forget because they came from you. After a month, you'll have 30 sentences. That's a paragraph. After a year, you'll have 365 sentences. That's a chapter. Your chapter. The story of your tornado, written in your own English. Here's the beautiful thing about this method. You don't have to be a good writer. You don't have to be an advanced English speaker. You just have to be honest. The honesty does the work. The emotion does the teaching. I learned this in the FEMA trailer. My first sentence was, "Tonight we sleep in a small box, but we are together." That sentence is not grammatically perfect. A teacher might say, "In a small box" is weird. But I don't care. Because that sentence is mine. It came from my real life. And I have never forgotten it. Your first sentence might be, "I lost my job and I didn't know what to do." Or, "My heart broke into 1,000 pieces." Or, "I sat alone in my car and cried for an hour." Those are not textbook sentences. They are better than textbook sentences. They are true. And here's the promise, if you write one true sentence every day, your English will grow. Not fast. But real. Not perfect. But yours. And one day, you'll look back at your notebook and realize, you didn't just learn English. You healed something. You turned your tornado into a story. And your story became your strength. In section 12, the final section, I'll tell you how our story ended. What we rebuilt. What we kept. And the one thing that no tornado, no loss, no failure, no heartbreak, can ever take from you. But for now, your English practice. One more sentence. Say it with me. My tornado does not define me. My story does. Say it again, my tornado does not define me. My story does. Because that's the truth. And the truth will set your English free. What I can't lose, and you can't either. So here we are. The last section. The end of the story. You've been with me through the green sky, the bathroom floor, the FEMA trailer, the bunk bed at 2 a.m. And the miraculous return of a one-eared stuffed rabbit. You've heard about my husband's quiet strength, my children's slow healing, and the science of why slow learning works. Now I want to tell you how it all turned out. And answer the question from the very beginning, what if losing shows you what you can't lose? 2 years after the tornado, our life looks different. Not better or worse. Just different. We still live in that small house with the mustard yellow cabinets. The backyard still has only one sad tree. The bathroom is still too small for 5 people. But we painted the living room a color Emma chose, a soft blue that she says looks like the sky on a calm day. Leo planted a garden. Mostly weeds, but also 3 tomato plants that actually produced fruit. Mia still sleeps with Bunny and Snowy, both of them now missing fur and stitches. Jake still works the same job. He still comes home smelling like grease and coffee. He still doesn't talk much. But now, every night, he reads from our family journal. The blue one that survived. He reads 1 page aloud. The kids listen. I listen. And we remember. We remember the tornado. We don't forget it. Forgetting is not the goal. The goal is to carry it without being crushed by it. And me? I still write. Every day. 1 sentence in my cheap notebook. Sometimes in English. Sometimes in my first language. Sometimes both. The notebook is almost full now. 365 sentences. A year of my life. A year of survival. Here's one of my favorites, from last month. Today Leo taught Mia how to ride a bike. She fell 7 times. On the 8th try, she didn't fall. Leo ran behind her, shouting, "You're doing it! You're doing it!" And I cried in the kitchen where no one could see. That sentence is not perfect English. The grammar is simple. The vocabulary is basic. But it's mine. And I will remember it forever. Now, let me answer the question. What can't you lose? You can't lose your story. You can lose your house, your car, your job, your phone, your favorite coffee mug. You can lose money, status, plans, dreams. You can lose people, not permanently, but their physical presence. You can lose a lot. But your story? The things you've lived through? The way you held your children in the dark? The way you got back up after the storm passed? That story lives in you. No tornado can take it. No divorce. No bankruptcy. No failure. No loss. Your story is not in the walls. It's not in the objects. It's in your neurons. Your memories. Your scars, physical and emotional. Your story is the only thing you truly own. And no one can steal it. That's what the tornado taught me. I thought I was losing everything. And I did lose a lot. But the things I couldn't lose, my children, my husband, my journal, my memories, my ability to love and be loved, those things were still there. Buried under the rubble. Waiting to be found. So here's my final challenge to you. And this is the most important thing I will say in this entire video. Stop waiting for the perfect time to learn English. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Stop waiting until your life is calm and your schedule is empty and your brain is fresh. That day will never come. Start now. With your tornado. With your pain. With your messy, broken, beautiful life. Take out that notebook. Write 1 sentence. Just one. About something real. Something you lost. Something you survived. Something you're still fighting for. Write it in English. Bad English is fine. Wrong English is fine. Just write it. Then say it out loud. 5 times. Slowly. Do that tomorrow. And the next day. And the next. In 1 year, you will have 365 sentences. That's a book. Your book. The story of your tornado, written in your own English. And here's the promise, you will not forget those sentences. Because they are not someone else's words. They are yours. They came from your heart. And your heart is the best language teacher you will ever have. Before I go, I want to leave you with one last sentence. A sentence I wrote in my notebook on the 1-year anniversary of the tornado. I was sitting on the back porch of our new house, watching the sun set over the sad tree. And I wrote, I lost my house, but I found my voice. That's what I want for you. Not perfect English. Not fluency in 3 months. Not a certificate or a medal. Your voice. The words that only you can say. The story that only you can tell. The language that comes from your life, not from a textbook. You have a tornado. We all do. But you also have a voice. And that voice is the one thing you cannot lose. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for staying with me through all 12 sections. Thank you for letting me be a small part of your English journey. Now go write your own story. 1 sentence at a time. Slow and steady. Like a family rebuilding after a storm. You've got this. So here's the truth no one tells you: your English is not broken. Your story is just waiting to be spoken. You didn't fail at learning. You just never had a reason to feel it. Now you do. That green sky? That rubble? That stuffed rabbit? Those are not my memories anymore. They're yours. Because every time you repeat a sentence from this video, you're not just practicing English. You're practicing survival. And that changes everything. If this story touched something in you, if you felt even a flicker of recognition, a lump in your throat, a tiny voice saying "that's me," then don't let this moment disappear. Here's what I need you to do right now. Hit subscribe. Not because I asked. Because your future self will thank you for staying on this journey. One story. Every week. Slow English. Real life. Like this video, but only if you mean it. The algorithm needs to know that people like you want stories, not textbooks. Comment one word: tornado. Just that. Let me know you made it to the end. Let the next person scrolling see that someone else survived too. And if you're ready to write your first sentence today, the one about your own tornado, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Because here's the thing, your story is the only English lesson you'll never quit. See you in the next video.